Alright, this is a video about improvements we've had to make to the model railway. And what we've had to do is, we've had to widen this bend here. You can see by the sand, because Mark IV carriages were catching on that bend. Where we've widened this, because you can see the new sand here and the rocks. You can see where we've widened this. So we had to pull this out a lot more as well. And obviously using this Pico point here, we've taken it all out, so we had to move this out, and we've used FlexiTrack to do that, which has improved it an awful lot. What we've also had to do is we've had to pull this bend here further out, because what was happening just round here was on Mark IV carriages they were catching, and this was a radius 3. We've had to put a radius 4 in here. Fortuitously we got enough space we could do it. It's amazing really, because we ran it for months and it was absolutely fine, but hey ho, there you go. What we've also done with one of our toy lorries is little Bachmann Scencraft ballast sacks we've put onto the back of a lorry, which we think is quite effective. So we're quite pleased with that. It's a simple thing, but it keeps us happy. The garage, we've got cars parked and people, but we've got to put an interior in to the garage, forecourt, shop and where they pay, but we've got the people there and we feel that works quite well. What we've also done is the shop and the post office, and you can see the TR7, the MG, the Dauchevaux. Probably just see the guy on the scooter pulling out. And we've got a typical, what we think is a Saturday morning scene. You've got the guy pushing the push chair, the lady going into the shops, the old telephone kiosk, the post box, and you've got people going to and from cars, which we think is okay. We've done this too. What we also have is 2 joggers. Now the joggers were Hornby with the little plastic square underneath them. I can't remember what the Hornby number was, but I put the feet and the plastic in hot water, pulled them off. One jogger I've left set piece, and the other one I gave yellow and a blue top. And people jogging on a Saturday morning, and you can see behind the swings, they were made from a kit. I painted those. And we just utilised, you can see the family there and the boy standing on the swing, which we think is okay. The semi-detached house, you've got the cars parked. They're not age related. The postman of that era would not have a van like that, but the postman I painted. The lady scrubbing the floor I didn't, that was part of a kit. The hedges were scratch built, as were a lot of the plants in the garden, and ecstatic grass in the front of the garden. The paving was a kit. What make of kit? Can you remember that the paving was? Can you? If you can't remember, fine.
Wheels, I think.
Wheels kit. That's it. A wheels kit, and I just painted them grey to match the what we think how it would look. The other house, we have the young lady going to the 1300 GT. Her mother had a 1971 one. Exactly the same colour, saffron yellow. But we have that too, which we think works okay. The other house, the paving, a wheels kit. Oxford die-cast cars. You've got the couple chatting at the door. And we've got a Jensen Interceptor. My mum's dad had one. That was black, not blue, but it's still relevant. And you can see, we think it works okay. Typical Saturday morning scene. Got a couple more Oxford die-cast cars, a Capri and a Princess, cars which I had. And we think they work quite well. We don't want to put any more cars on it because we don't want to make it like the M25. Here we have an Oxford die-cast TR7 and an MG. And the people I used were carriage people Scencraft carriage people without legs, and they fit in quite well, and we think they're quite effective, so we just utilised that situation. So yeah, no, we're quite pleased with how that's worked. While the stables aren't finished, we've used just various Scencraft figures. I've painted them slightly different colours, some of them, and we've got the dog and the horse at the stables. The stables are a Scencraft item, and yeah, it's not finished yet, the whole area, but we've got the stables sorted out. What we've got by the church is we've put a hearse there, policewoman directing any traffic that might go in there, and we couldn't buy any pallbearers or funeral staff, so we used a guy in a black uniform to sit at the back of the hearse. Incidentally, the fencing for the church was a Wills kit, and I painted it black and painted the gold, well, they're supposed to be brass tops, and we think that works okay. What we've also done here is we put fencing up, and you can see the gate open, and you can see the guy walking out the gate. That was a kit, we made those and painted those. Not the most difficult to make, but it's quite effective for what we want, so we're quite pleased with that. And here you have is an outward shot of the little village area, and you can see we've given them different concrete and different tarmacs. Trees were scratch built, the hedges were scratch built, a lot of the flowers were scratch built. Those little fir trees by the hearse were not flat scratch built, and it's static grass. What we've also put at the back of the park is a little bench with a couple chatting on, which we thought would be quite effective. So yeah, we've done that, and we think that works for us. Here you can see the back garden of the semi. The flowers are scratch built except those on the far left, but all the rest were scratch built. The wheelbarrow with the flower in it was built from a kit, and the fencing was built from a Wills kit. So yeah, we think that's okay. The back of the detached house has a little patio with a little wooden bench with a person sitting there with a table on the patio, and that was a Gauge Master kit, and it was a Wills kit for the patio. Here's a shed in the detached house. That was a Gauge Master kit. I painted that, and we just built them all and just painted them, and you can see the garden roller, and you can see the water collector. Can't remember what they're called. What are they called?
Water butt. Water
butt. And I tried to give an effect of a felt roof by using very fine black on top, and I think that works okay. And you can see there the Wills kit wooden fence, which we've also used. Here's a better picture of them driving the TR7 car. You can see the two people, I would hope, driving the TR7. Here at the foliage in the background at the back of the field, we've added some more flowers which are a little bit subtle, just to give it what we think is more of a slightly effective view, really, of how it would look, which we're quite pleased with. If you look at the track here, you can see how it goes in and goes out, and it went in to accommodate the Radius 3 bend. If we'd have swapped to Radius 4 bend in the first place, then it would have been arrow straight. But everything runs okay, and I'm not overly worried about it not being perfectly straight. What we've also added is some speed signs dotted around the track. In the videos you may have seen them, to give it a little bit more detail. So yeah, no, we're quite pleased with those. Those with a keen eye will remember it was a blue MG that was there. and now it's a red TR6. Reason being is because the steering wheel in the model, I can't get the driver behind the wheel even with no legs. So nothing wrong with having a TR6 part there. So yeah, that's what we've done there. We bought a couple of generators, mobile generators, and put those in the car park. They were hard to find. You can't find those to buy, and we couldn't get those cheap really, unfortunately. So we think they're quite effective. We think they look okay. What we've also done with the Hornby signals is, well, I've got rid of the metal base, drilled a round hole so it's an interference fit, and slotted them in, and they're far more to scale. We're just sitting too high, they look stupid. So we think they look okay. As we're not overly bothered about signalling, flashing lights. How much money do you want to spend? And really, when you can run 4 trains on this at once in analogue mode, God, you'd have to employ somebody to operate the signals. So basically our signals are just a static effect because they would be there. Here we have a mother and daughter heading for the passenger door and the passenger rear door of a car, while their other half is in the shop. Just trying to use imagination to create scenes really. Here from the back you can see a young lady leaving her Volkswagen, was it Westfalia Combi, and a young man going to his BMW 2002, and in the background an old lady and her granddaughter going to their Austin Maxi. What we've done with the lorry and the bus is we've put it in an area where it's not blocking any views of the trains or any of the other scenery, but they're there and you can see them. And you've always got a lorry delivering something, or a bus for a worker's day out, or driving through a village from elsewhere. You're just kind of using your imagination really of what can go on in a scene or area. And here's another view you can see looking at the little village area, the cars parked and the road, and the diesel sidings and diesel refuelling yard just behind the houses. What we did here was both sidings were the same length at one point, but we lengthened the inner one for the big gun for our World War I diorama. I mean, strictly speaking, it's in World War II shape. We've got to weather it and do a few bits and pieces to it, but that's where it's going to live. And what we have got in front of it, you can see, is a Hornby TTS wagon that produces all the sounds. I can't remember the number. And that track is isolated totally from the rest of the track with a wire going to the Gauge Master DCC control unit. So basically, even if you're running analogue, you can have all the sounds that produces chattering away, and you're not going to affect anything else, because we wanted to buy it and use it all the time, and it does work quite well. What we also have is a man with a lawnmower mowing the lawn by the garage, and that was a Wills kit. Here you can see a better view of the MG driver in the MG sports car. As I say, it was a carriage passenger with no legs, and it fits in a treat. Here we have the young guy with his Beetle checking the tyre pressures. Right, here's the pond done with Deluxe Materials Aqua Magic, and no, that's not smoke on the water, that's where it's drying. It will dry green and it will dry the correct colour, and you will see that there's some ducks there, and there's a water lily, swan on the water, some plants. We have got a lady fisherwoman, but we're not going to put her on there because if she falls in and it's not dry, it's going to mess it up. But this will actually go green and it will be effective. And here's a front-on view of the pond. As I've said, not smoke on the water, but you can see the ducks. If you can see the lady's fishing basket, but she's not going to be put on there until it's had 2 days to harden, because if she falls in with her fishing rod, it'll make a mess of it.